All right, we are now looking at game two, Myth World Cup bottom bracket finals. We've got my team, same roster as before. We've got Argos subbing in for my team in place of Spoon. On the BA side, we've got same lineup with Asmo subbing in for the Sam Rat King duo, who unfortunately wasn't able to join. This is an interesting map. There's really not a unit trade. You can basically max everything, with the exception of malls. So there's not a lot of strategic decisions to be made just in terms of the actual trade itself. But there is room for some interesting plays on the map. If we zoom out here, mid has got these two sort of choke bridges with hills on either side for souls. So it is you could turn this into a lineup and fight mid, but you don't have a lot of room or real estate here to line up all of your fetch. So that could be interesting. With all of the hills, souls are really important units. For the my team side, you've got yours truly on the Trow. We've got LSO and Donsky on our fetch along with Tiri. So we are splitting the fetch three ways. We've got a 3-3-2 split. 6 Morts, some Solus, Max Zerks, a few Spiders, and then 4 Mauls for flag defense. Same sort of stuff on the side of Paris. You do have your 6 Morts. You've got your 3 Trow. You've got your 8 fetch. They are doing, it appears, a 2-way split on fetch between Paris and Kroon. Interesting, Captain's known for his fetch play more than most other things. We see on the Trow, we do have Adren, who's cutely named as Trow, which is greater than Karma. He is down 2 matches to none heading into this one so far in this Myth World Cup. So we will see, how this match plays out for him, both in this game and overall. Similar stuff. We got Souls, Zerks, not that different. Does like Mystery Men may have a few more Zerks, but it's not a drastic difference. So as we watch this play out, it looks like Mystery Men are flanking their Shroud to the north, where Pierce's team starts mid. We fast forward a bit. He quickly moves to match. So we've got Verminex, Paris, and Adrenaline matching up with Carmen Tiri, with some backup from Asmo on the Solus. Paris sees that they really don't need his fetch on the northern side, so he starts to shift to mid. Right now, the idea here, in theory, and now I'm looking at this from a strategy perspective, the Solus basically completely counter what Mystery Men was planning on doing. Our Souls went mid, whereas the Souls, at least half of the Souls on the side of Paris's team, do shift north. So right now, there's really no point. I think this is a mistake from my team. There's no point for Tyria and Karma to even be here. You've got Morts that are up on this hill. You don't want to push up in general against Morts up a hill. You could do it with fetch, but even then you've got these souls backing up. There's nothing aggressive our Trow can do. Taking an aggressive Trow fight here would just be suicide. So we do have a hold flank here on the northern side. They've got a hill advantage, so it will be hard for Blade to do much. He could flank a Dwarf around. That would be fairly interesting to get this high ground. But that's going to be hard with the Spiders and the Souls. So Trow are posturing back here. Like I said, there's nothing for this Trow to even do. So in hindsight, we either need to shift our Souls over here to counter their Souls, or we need to just redistribute and get Tiri's fetch mid. As it is, we have LSO squaring off against Kroon and Donsky squaring off against Paris. Our fetch and souls are sort of on top of each other. I'd like to see these fetch maybe flanked over to the side. It would make it a little bit harder for them to block. But we're basically fighting down a fetch, down 2 fetch on the side of LSO and down 1 fetch on the side of Dant. This was funny. LSO in voice chat told Zell, I'm going to control your dwarf for 1 second while Zell was focusing on using souls. LSO promptly gets it zapped. We do try to play a bit aggressive here. Not so bad to start. Still haven't lost a fetch. Down a couple of souls and a mort. Adren posturing like he's going to go mid, ends up not going. We do have enough souls that they could harass if they needed to. We have Argos over here as well, but again, the souls here just make this not winnable to try to push. I don't really see any other way around it other than being super aggressive and just hoping the other team screws up. We do see action mid. Donsky, unfortunately, not much you can do when you're down a fetch in these fights. So if we freeze it right here, you've got 5 fetch on the side of BA still alive. You've got 4 fetch still alive on the side of my team. But 3 of our fetch are over on this northern flank with Karma and Tiri, where all 5 of Paris's fetch are mid. So it's a 13% lead, but they're in pretty good shape. Blade is still here in a standoff with Monty. There's not much to do there. Mid's basically won. So, Asmo, Adren are both calling out to Verm. Same thing. You don't need to push. Obviously, we're kind of stuck here. So at this point, our mid force really should just be backing off. Unfortunately, LSO does get dropped with our last remaining fetch mid. So it's a 14% lead, but again, things are not looking great. We did manage to pick off 1 more of Paris's fetch. So from a fetch perspective, it is still 3 fetch to 3 fetch. If we could get everything back and line up, there's a possibility that we could hold. We are losing Solus though, and they've got a massive number alive. So Asmo still has all 9 Solus, and then you've got another 8 with their mid force, where we're down to 10 Solus, now 9 Solus in total. So the only win condition here, I think there's 2 win conditions that I would say for Mystery Men. It looks like Monty did lose 1 Mort, and Blade is threatening a rush. So win condition 1 would be that Blade somehow gets something into the backfield and steals the flag. Win condition 2, I don't think there's any point. We debated rushing this, but with these souls and Adren's Trow here, there's no way that happens. So win condition 2 is really more of a tie condition. It's somehow Mystery Men are able to pull their forces back and form a defensive line where you're far enough away from this hill that you can line up and fight. Even then, I think it would be tough because the souls for Paris's team could get this high ground. I believe it's passable for Solus. And if they get up there with as many souls as they have, they can slowly just pick us down. So some posturing back and forth. We're trying to keep as much of Argos' units as live as he can. Does get off a good Mort shot to somewhat even up the soul disadvantage. I would say so far in this game, some pretty reactive troweling for both Karma and Adren. You see both of us take about 3 punches in that exchange that were unnecessary. It's not huge, but simply, something to call out. We could both improve, let's just say that. Tiri is retreating. I'm trying to do a little bit of a stall with Verm. It is questionable. Adren asked, is there a point to doing this? Why did I sacrifice eventually so much Trow health? You see me, again, taking more damage. The idea here is that the only way we can win is if we buy enough time for our team to get set up. We do, and this was a very good call by Tiri. Again, we've secured this delay, so now we're able to collapse on this force. I think Kroon and Paris have overextended, which is a mistake. On this side, Blade is pressuring the flag. So Blade does ask at this point in voice, is there anybody that we can split units with? So in hindsight, I would say what Mystery Men needed to do here, either Arsenic or Donsky needed to give up the 3 or 1% they're still holding on and split this. Because at that point, you got a 2-on-1, 2 Morts against 1 advantage against Monty and split melee. So props to Blade for shouting that out. I think as a team, all of us could have done a better job reacting to that piece. But as is, this rush works really good. So Kroon basically dies, doesn't kill much. So at this point, the lead is down to 12%. But again, Tiri has 3 fetch. They're all green. They're all alive. We still have a decent number of Solus. I think if we had a chance to play this over a couple of times, in this exact position, I think there's some scenarios where you could salvage a tie out of this. Adren does have a pretty decent Trow health advantage lead after the play here, pushing through our delay. But as is, still push back. We lose enough souls that, again, I think even if we pull out some miracles from this point, 15 seconds later, your hopes are either, Blade is able to successfully pull off a miracle rush, which, obviously we can tell isn't going great, or these fetch can survive, continue to back up, and put out some damage. Drin is pressuring here, but we still have the fetch alive. I don't actually know. I haven't tested this. We have this Mort. This Mort is up here pretty high. So A, that's a massive range. B, I don't even know if Tiri shoots that if the Mort ball detonates. Mythbusters, Shyster, Genghis, if you're listening, you might want to test that. Our team does manage to kill the Mort, but at this point, with Blade's rush being foiled, there's nothing left to do here. Short of just an absolute insane blunder from the Soulless, nothing. Even then, the game's just over. So, not much else to see. Some getting kicked. The last soul does drop to those souls as expected. We do come out on top of the trial fight. It doesn't really matter. Adrian and I talked about this too. At that point, you're really just clicking to end the game because there's no way that the souls can do much. So I would say from just a pressure perspective and map presence, Asmo's Souls did a really good job along with Adren of just keeping Mystery Men pretty separated. From a mid push perspective, Kroon did have a fetch advantage, but he also made good use of it. It's hard to give him or Paris, I think, the MVP as they pushed a little bit too far and then got rushed. But either way, they still had their team in a position to win. So I guess biggest blunders of the match, just coming from my team's perspective, since I do play on my team, my fault on the northern side for not just leaving instead of hanging out once it was obvious with those souls that we were never going to get much pressure. Could have flipped the map and basically run around having our souls to back up Tiri to keep them from stalling, just as a for instance. May or may not have worked, but it would have been better than what we did. Mid, you already saw, we probably shouldn't have taken those fetch fights. Could have spread our souls a little bit more. On the big flank here, you could have swapped out Donsky or ours with half of Blade's units. Flipping over to Paris's team, I think they did everything right up into the point where they overextended a bit, to our flag, and then got pinched. Could have played a little bit safer, but that is nitpicking. So at this point, 1-1, and we would be headed into game 3.